Hey, it's Aaron. Today I want to talk about the 2025 Genesis GV80. This generation of the GV80 started in 2021. For 2025, there's some content and trim shuffling. Otherwise, it really doesn't change that much. But the biggest change, I believe, is just the infotainment and digital driver gauge stuff. That's all one big screen now, which is what Hyundai Genesis are kind of moving towards. It's a beautiful setup, really nicely done. One thing that Genesis is very good at is integrating technology so that it's a little less in your face about being technology, right? So the technology is there. It's very, very well done. But you won't focus on it. Because it's just another part of the overall. And the overall is very good. I really like the looks of the GV80. There are two options for it. There's the standard SUV, which is a little more square bodied, and the Coupe, which has a swept back, which diminishes the rear cargo space a little bit, but a lot of people like that Coupe look. I'm not personally a fan of that with SUVs, but all the brands are doing it now. It's a thing. They're apparently very popular in Europe and of some areas of the US. I'm not personally a fan. Now, there are a couple of differences between the standard model SUV and the Coupe model. The biggest of those, besides that body styling, is that with the Coupe you cannot get a third row option. Probably not a big deal because the third row in the SUV is really tight, so you probably won't get a ton of use out of it anyway, but it is an option if you want it. Now, the other change, or the other difference I should say, in the models is the GV80 in both SUV and Coupe form comes with two different engine options. The first and the standard is the 2.5. This is a turbocharged 4, and then the other is a 3.5 V6. What you get out of these is different. The 3.5 is more of a classic feel, so you get that long power range that you get with a well-done V6. So it's just feels more classic, but you lose a fair amount of fuel economy. The turbocharged 4 is a little quicker feeling, but not necessarily quicker, but it doesn't ever feel like it doesn't have enough power. It's always right there, always fine. I would recommend sticking with that one. Price points will be very different depending on which engine you want. The GV80 starts at about $60,000, but you're probably not going to be buying at that price. That's the base model. Then there's a standard model. That one is okay. I would go to the Prestige model. It's 72-ish. It's a little over $72,000 to get into that. But you get all the goodies that you would want, and it's still lower priced than most of the competitors with the same kind of inclusions. Now, to get into the V6 model, you're going to spend a minimum of 75 or so, almost 76 for that. So if it's super important to you, then yes, go spend that, but I personally do not think it's worth it. I think you're just as well off with this little turbo, and I didn't have any issues with it. Felt just fine to me. I drove both the standard SUV and the Coupe during separate weeks, and very much enjoyed the way they felt. So I had the V6 in one and the 4 in the other, and I would say that the 4 is just as good. You're not trading anything off by going with that smaller engine. The turbo is nicely done. There is a little bit of lag, but that's true no matter what. But it's just nicely done. The transmission does a good job of mitigating most of the downers of having a turbo. I think that's about all there is to cover. This is a very, very good vehicle. It's nicely done, really well done, actually. And price-wise and warranty-wise, it outdoes pretty much everything else on the market. Now, it's not as sporty as a couple of options, but you're going to spend a lot of money to get that sportiness. So if you really want that Porsche or whatever, it is going to cost you. The Cayenne is not a cheap vehicle. Also, if you want off-road, this is not your vehicle. It's okay in bad weather and everything else. It does just fine with that. That's really what it's kind of tuned for as far as the all-wheel drive and whatnot. But it doesn't have that rugged off-road look that you'll get with, say, Land Rover. But you're going to spend a whole lot more for that British Range Rover as well. So Land Rover, Range Rover, whatever. And so if that's what you're after, then this isn't your vehicle. But I think for me and pretty much everybody I can think of who's buying in the luxury market like this is a great option. So yeah, Genesis, they have a habit of just hitting the nail on the head, and they did it really well with this one. I personally don't like the coupe design, but that's a preference. I don't like the BMW ones or the Mercedes ones either. I just don't like that look, but a lot of people do. That's why they exist. So anyway, that's what I got. This is the 2025 Genesis GV80 in both SUV and coupe form. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon.